الحياة في مجملها خطوات، إما بنخطوها في الطريق نحو الهدف أو لا طريق ولا هدف.
أهلا بيكم أحبائي في برنامجكم خطوات قدام مباشرة من استوديو الكرمة بكندا. هيا بشكر الله جدا من أجل البرامج اللي بدأت تتقدم من الاستوديو، من أجل برنامج خطوات قدام، من أجل كل حلقة بنقدمها وبنسمع تعليقاتكم وبنتفاعل معاكم عشان ناخد كلنا كشعب المسيح خطوات لقدام، من أجل كل حلقة وكل ضيف وكل موضوع بنناقشه وكل نقلة في حياتنا كجماعة المسيح، ككنيسة، كمؤمنين، كشعب يسوع، وكحتى لو لسه ما عرفتوش ما قبلتوش لكن عايزينك تبدأ الخطوة معاه وتمشي خطوات لقدام. بشكر الله أيضا من أجل الحلقة ديت، والحلقة يعني اللي أنا هبدأها حالا هتكون باللغة الإنجليزية، وهي حلقة هامة جدا لينا كخدام في مجال الميديا المسيحية وكل ما يتعلق بالميديا. لو انت في الميديا كخادم، لو انت بتستخدم الميديا في خدمتك، في شغلك، حتى في هوايتك، لو بتشتغل في خدمة او في شركة او في غيره ليها علاقة بالميديا بطريقة ما وانت مؤمن وبتحب يسوع، فاحنا عايزينك تعرف وضعية المجال دوت وكيف تستخدمه بصورة فعالة لمجد المسيح، وكيف تطور من مهاراتك وإمكانياتك والوزنة التي أعطاك الله إياها والشغف الذي ثقلك به لكي تخدم المسيح بصورة أعمق وبتأثير أقوى. فمن الآن فصاعدا هنقل الحلقة باللغة الإنجليزية من أجل ضيفية اللي بيشرفوني علشان نتعامل مع بعض، ومن فضلكم ادعوا شبابكم لأن الحلقة دي مفيدة جدا 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 ليهم. So I want to welcome you again to this program Steps Ahead, live from Alkarma studio from Toronto. And as I've just said in Arabic, we're so grateful for every episode, for every guest, and for each topic that we discuss, so that we as the people of God, the people of Christ, the followers of Christ, would move steps ahead in our relationship with Jesus and in following Him and in serving Him and impacting the world for Him. This special episode is actually, I'm taking you to the back end, to what we as people who serve in media would be interested in learning, so that we can sharpen our skills, know exactly the significance of this very unique ministry, and how to be impactful for Jesus in this time using this tool and the gift that God has given us. So if you or your young ones are involved in media, in their business, in their churches, in their even hobbies, and they are considering that, or they have a gift or passion even for it, this episode is for you. And as we have the academics and the experts here, I'm sure that we will learn how to be effectively using media and how to consider this world about media. So I'm very glad that I'm joined by Dr. Murray Stiller. Thank you, Murray, for coming. And I know you came all the way from the West Coast. So not specifically for this episode, but for many important things, yet you made it a priority to come. So thank you for coming. We're glad to have you here.
My pleasure, and it's so much fun to be in front of the camera. I mean, I love being behind the camera. That's my career. So it feels a little different to be in the spotlight as opposed to the person who's behind. So it's a fun adventure for me as well.
It's a joy to have you, Murray. And Dr. Stiller, as you know, you noticed from the name, is the son of Reverend Dr. Brian Stiller, who has joined us many, many times on the program and has enriched us with his Bible exposition, spiritual insights, and biblical insights, especially for this time and age, with his experience in ministry and lifetime of ministry. So I'm so glad that the legacy of Brian and Lily Stiller is passed through to Murray, who's going to definitely enrich us tonight. And also, Professor Stiller wanted one of his students, definitely a very special student, Denise James, to join him, because Denise has so much to share, and it's a joy actually for any teacher, any professor, to have his students learn and accomplish. And I'm sure you are a proud tutor, Murray, because Denise is with you. So welcome, Denise. Thank you for coming again.
Thank you for having me.
And we look forward to hear your fresh insight about what we are going to learn. So, Maury, you've been in kind of every aspect of the media career spectrum, right? You've worked behind the camera, you've done audio, you've done video, you've done filming, and then you taught, you went into academia and you started writing and teaching, first in the West Coast and then here, right? And now you're teaching both at Redeemer and Tyndale?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And in Vancouver, do you teach as well?
I'm not currently teaching anywhere in Vancouver, but I started my career in the film industry in Vancouver. And everybody in the film industry has a different story, how they got in, how they got out, where they focused their energy. And I was working on film sets, 12, 16-hour days,
Wow.
6 days a week. And my kids were little. And one day I was sitting on the back of the trucks, and one of the electrics guys, the lighting guys, said, "My kids grew up and I missed the whole thing." And within 48 hours, we realized my daughter was on her way, and I was on one of those kind of terrible shows that I was never going to watch myself. And then I got a phone call saying, would I come and teach? I thought this would be a great chance for me to be at home in the evening with my kids, put my kids to bed so my kids get to know me, which was great because I had a teaching background, teaching music, and then that transition into film industry and audio and then teaching, and it gave me a chance to do more producing, filming, directing, and all kinds of other work. And then the teaching has gone really well, and I taught at a number of universities out west, and along the way, it was time for me to move on, and that's where I started teaching at a Christian university for the first time. All of my work had been at secular universities, and I felt that's where my calling was, to be a part of that world, be kind of the light in the darkness. But I recognized in that moment that there was a segment of the Christian population that was being left out. That here was an opportunity for me to help train Christian voices, not just to tell Christian stories, but to tell redemptive stories. And through one step after the other, being at Redeemer and then other universities looking for help, we've started to branch out. And my vision is, how can we take this thing that we have developed, this training that we can provide, and how can we share it with the rest of the world?
Murray, this is profound. I mean, your personal story is definitely something, and I'm grateful you've shared this. Yet also the fact that you wanted to be light in the darkness, and now you're passing this experience, expertise, and all of this to the next generation to lead the media ministry world. But whenever I talk with you, you come up with this word story. And one of my dear friends, and I consider him one of my media consultants, always quotes, and he used to be leading a media organization in the US that focused on stories. And he always quotes this verse in the Gospels, which says that about Jesus, that without story, he was not teaching them. So he's always teaching his disciples and the audience and the people with stories. And of course, Jesus is the master storyteller by far. I mean, history would tell us volumes of commentaries have kind of scratched the surface of the depth of the stories and the simplicity and the powerfulness of these stories. But why is there a special connection between media and story, and why do you always focus on story? And why did you want this episode to be about media storytelling first and foremost?
The thing that we remember the most are stories. When we think of Jesus, I think of what Jesus said, the Sermon on the Mount, which is so applicable today. We always go to the stories. It's what we grew up with. Stories have the ability to create that catharsis in our experience that then shape our mind and our intentions. So not only is it popular, it's something that we remember. It's something that grabs our interest as we're led into the story, and then we participate in the story. As Aristotle said, a great story is learning something from the hero, and the only way you learn from the hero is to walk that path with the hero. See yourself in the hero's position, and when the hero has that moment in the story where they have to make a decision, we're making the same decision. What would we do? What's going to be our choice in that moment? And what happens at the end of the story, we're still putting ourselves in the hero's place. What would I have done? How do I make decisions in life? Even though in an epic story, we might not be having to drop the ring in Mount Doom and Lord of the Rings, but we have that thing that we have to make a decision about. And that story is going to stay with us, and it's going to help us sort out our own mess. So stories have a profound influence on everything we do in life. So everything is story. Social media, movies, the streaming service, the news, we frame everything in in stories, and it's how it's how our world is shaped. Our faith, our belief, our understanding of history, our understanding of science and of the universe. We're always putting it in story. So learning how to tell a good story is critically important as a media person. And then celebrating the story.
This is amazing, Murray. So every aspect of human knowledge touches on the story in one way or the other. But I think media of all disciplines kind of finishes the story. It presents the story in different ways. It focuses on who the protagonist or the villain or different aspects of the story. It makes the story shine in a way that we are there, like you've said, with Frodo, with his tension and his struggle, right? And we kind of go in with Gollum and see, is he a bad person? Is he a good person? Why does he speak to himself, and we see, and of course, as it's complex, we see ourselves there, and we relive the story in a different context. Of course, I mean, Tolkien and Lewis are the master players of story, and I lived in Oxford, and I kind of, it's, you know, like C.S. Lewis says, everything was redeemed, and then when his imagination was redeemed, that was another thing, another story. So media is kind of a medium for storytelling, and if it was used to say redemptive storytelling, like you've said, our ministry will be super impactful, and Jesus used the same technique, correct?
Absolutely.
So tell us a bit more about redemptive storytelling. And you mentioned something called story literacy or story and media literacy.
Right.
So I think these are new concepts that we in the media industry need to learn about. And maybe Denise, you can step in from student perspective or practitioner perspective to tell us what's your reflection on that.
So what's fun about media is that it's the culmination of all of the arts. It's photography, it's set decoration, it's sound, it's acting, it's performance. It's everything that comes together. So you've got all kinds of layers of different arts that are being brought together, which makes it so much fun because you don't have to be an expert in everything, but you're going to find that you're an expert in one thing. And even that one thing is a component of storytelling. So when we have students coming in, I say, you're not gonna be great at everything, but you're gonna find that one thing that you love in media, and you're gonna dig into that, and you're gonna become known for doing that, and you're gonna love to do that. And that's your contribution to either a bigger story or your own aspect of story, whether it's writing or sound design or cinematography. So when we take that, we say, okay, well, that's media, that's the art of storytelling. The media literacy is for everyone. Well, I think making media is for everyone anyway. If you have a phone, you're making media. If you send a text, you're involved in media. If you're sending an email, everybody is involved, they just don't quite know how much they're actually involved in media. Media literacy is being able to take a step back and evaluate the media that you're consuming. Media literacy is understanding how the language of the image and of sound and of the juxtaposition of the montage, how all of these components are coming together to create something meaningful. So literacy is just the way we read. And media literacy is being able to watch something on television or in a movie and be able to pick out the components, say, I understand what's going on, I understand what's being communicated here, and I understand why that's meaningful to me. And then I can see the bigger picture out of it as well. So that's the difference between media literacy. Now, if as an artist, you're creating media, as a teacher, I'm encouraging students to understand what it is that they're experiencing. And then when we get to the redemptive side of it, we're asking, okay, what's the real value behind the art and the literacy? How is this speaking philosophy? Because media is really just, it is the active involvement of philosophy. Media, making a film is creating philosophy because it's all about ideas. So that's where the redemptive side comes.
Yeah, and I don't just want to pass by this point. This is a very important point because this is a struggle that we have. Is media neutral or is media agendated? So that's something I want to go back to. But Denise, I want your reflection on the storytelling thing because us as students and practitioners, I think this is important. What Murray has just said, that everybody's doing media, you know. Molière, the French philosopher and satirist and playwright, wrote, I guess it was in Tartuffe, one of his satirical plays, where a lady was bragging and she was told, the difference between poetry and prose. And she said, oh, then I'm talking prose all my life. Well, probably we are creatures who communicate through media, right? Whether it's basic, preliminary, primitive media or sophisticated, multidisciplinary media, so forth.
Yeah.
What is your reflection on the storytelling aspect, and what have you learned? And you've walked the journey in learning now, so I want to listen to your insights on this.
Yeah, so just with my first year being completed last year, it's been interesting and eye-opening to see how much storytelling there is in all different aspects of media, whether you're focusing on just the audio or you're removing the audio and you're just looking at the visuals with no sound. Like, there's so much story in each part that builds together to create the bigger story. So if you were to just listen to an audio clip, like not with words, like just the sounds and everything like that, that person who's been in part of that job has added so much into the story, into the words that are being spoken, into the pictures that are being shown, that before I was in the program, I would have never even thought to dwell on it. Kind of thinking, even in like sermon or church world, like you don't think about the media people in the back who are putting up the words, who are putting up the songs, and then what the design is in the background, how all of that needs to work together to not just portray the feeling that they're trying to develop, but also to make a service run smoothly, to let the Spirit move, right? So even in that setting, all of those different parts need to fit together.
To enhance the message.
Yeah.
So it's not just story, or this is not just stories, it's a coherent story, right? It's like a meta-narrative that involves in different stories, but they are all coherent.
Yeah.
For media message to be successful, right? Or to be impactful.
For sure. They all have to work together. And the more you can, like a director on a film set, they've got all of these different departments and making all of these decisions. Well, the more they can all be working towards the same outcome, they all have to be find a way of being cohesive. So your example of a sermon, well, down to the small details of, well, what kind of font is being shown on the screen? What are the colors? Are there other visuals that are being added? I mean, there's layers of sound and the music choices, and you know, from a sermon, there's so many things that you wish. Oh, I wish we'd done this differently. Well, yeah, you'll have the opportunity to do it differently because we're always producing new media, more media. But the better you get at it, the more aware you are of all of these components working together. And that's what makes a great director. That's why directing is so hard, because you have to be thinking about, know something about all of these different areas. And trying to bring them together.
It's like managing a company or an organization. You need to know something about everything.
Yeah.
And they all have to be aligned, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. You might not be an expert in everything, which is fine.
No. Yeah.
But you're always going to be looking to hire the expert
Exactly.
so that you have the best person.
And make sure he or this department aligns with everything else so that the overall story is lovely.
Sure,
right?
sure.
Like that.
And everybody's going to find their own area. Denise, you've probably found some things that you really love to do over the past year as you're studying, and some other things that you don't care for as much.
I didn't think I was going to love editing as much as I have truly found a passion in editing. Yeah.
You know, and us doing, you know, Christian media, for us, editing can make it or break it.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, you know, this is why we like the live to tape. So no editing.
And Rafik, when you getting involved in media, there must have been something that you suddenly gravitated towards.
Oh, absolutely.
Your ability to speak on camera, your a love for a way of telling a story.
Oh, absolutely. And also like some certain genres. I don't know if I'm using the right word or not, but certain genres of media, like for instance, outdoor episodes or so forth.
Sure.
So some things that kind of deliver the message more than others. Now we have a very nice question coming in,
Great.
and I want to ask it, and then maybe I'll comment, or I want your comment on whether media is neutral or not, because you've mentioned that, or should we have media as neutral? But so Mustafa, and I think Mustafa watches us frequently, asks this: how does storytelling in the Bible invite imagination and personal reflection? That's a great question, Mustafa.
That's going to take a whole semester to answer
Was
that
that your
question.
essay? Was that your essay, Denise? Yeah. You're waiting for the prof to answer, so that you go ahead, right?
That's a huge
great
question.
right?
It is a great question.
Yeah.
And I love the word imagination, because I think we have been blessed with creativity and the ability to imagine, the ability to reflect on ideas and stories and our history and the things that matter to us, and find ways of expressing them in new and unique ways. And we have never seen an explosion of storytelling like we have in the past few years. Social media, TikTok is just one story after the other in very creative and imaginative ways. The Old Testament is probably one of the greatest sources of inspiration for story.
Redemptive, amazing stories, yeah.
How many feature films are just the retelling of Old Testament stories? The themes that come out of it, of the Old Testament, are just fantastic. Some of the best, and I say the worst, the prophets were these such unique characters that were without their own redemption, and they were making terrible decisions. They were so interesting. What an awesome source of imagination.
I love that, Murray, because, and it touches on my question about neutrality. There is a huge difference and a gap between the Old Testament or biblical revelation and any other literature, especially in this kind of ancient times or in the antiques or the Mesopotamian literature or Greek or whatever. C.S. Lewis says that when he read George MacDonald, the author and the novelist, his imagination was redeemed. It is that he read good stories. So it's not that God likes stories or not. God likes good stories. And Lewis himself was an expert in medieval literature, right? Medieval English literature. And he says, I'm an expert in mythology. Lewis was. And so was Tolkien. Tolkien, invented languages, right? He invented the Elvish and whatever, right?
Yeah.
So he says there is a huge gap between the biblical narrative stories and the legends and mythologies. Because of what you've just said. We've never seen a prophet portrayed in the Old Testament as the ideal perfect hero, or the protagonist that, it's this complexity and the psychodynamics of a person who's never always right and never always wrong. And he has his, failings and failures. And so it's a real story that touches us. So we live it, we relive it, right? We enter into this world and we see life. And it's kind of, I guess this is in even the high fantasy, what Tolkien has done, and Lewis and Narnia and others. It's where we find ourselves in this story and come back to our real world and fix our world, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. You're right. Those Old Testament characters, how many times have you heard those stories? The story of Jonah, and then just got so frustrated with Jonah for making such dumb mistakes, making such terrible decisions. Like a little controversial, but let me explain. Jesus is probably the most boring character in the Bible.
Because he's never wrong.
He doesn't do anything wrong. Like, the Old Testament characters are fascinating because they're complex people. Jesus, we know he's going to do the right thing. My favorite story of Jesus is when the devil tempts him out in the desert. Well, the devil's the interesting character there because he's the one who has something at stake. We know Jesus is going to do the right thing. The devil's the complex character in there. The Old Testament, but the New Testament, and there's all Jesus' disciples, fascinating characters who are clearly have their own foibles as well.
That's awesome. So as we're doing media, are we to be neutral or biased or what?
Well, that's a judgment that I don't think you can try to be neutral, but I had the great pleasure before he passed away, Albert Maysles, who's considered to be the grandfather of documentary filmmaking. I met him at a film festival, and we became friends and corresponded until he passed away. He was also involved in something called direct cinema, and I'm bringing something. I'm going to do a lecture on it in a couple of weeks. But his idea is our goal as a filmmaker is to show realism as much as we can. You don't ask questions. You're not swaying the story. You're just observing.
Presenting.
You're letting the story present itself to you. And my argument, which he said, yes, you're right, but we try our best. But even the way we're editing a story, we're still manipulating it. We're making choices. When I turn the camera, what I'm going to, how big my frame is going to be, all of those decisions are telling the audience what to think.
Yeah.
So I think we can try to be as fair and as neutral as possible, but because of the technology, we have to make choices that is never going to be fully neutral. But if we can maintain respect and dignity and love for the person who's on screen, that we're working with, keeping in mind mercy and justice, I think that's the best of the neutrality that we can come to.
Thank you so much, Murray. And I think this is, for us, as practitioners, very helpful, because this is where our ethics come into play, right? This is where our character and integrity, because it's more of a mission, like media is a mission rather than just a vocation or so forth, right? It has its huge value and impact on human intellect and decision that we have to be very ethical about.
That's an interesting question. I mean, when you made the transition from being a physician to media, did you see it as a vocational change or as a change in mission?
So here's the thing, Denise. Your professor is so smart that he's asking the host, right? So, yeah.
Well, I know Denise has a good answer for that as well.
Yeah, maybe you'd help me answer that if you.
Well, I can answer for you. I can say for
Sure.
mine, it would be my mission. I wouldn't say fully changed. I would say it adapted to what I thought the Lord was calling me to when I was in high school, to what I thought He was calling me to do when I was in my early 20s. But if I hadn't have done what I was doing what I was focusing on in high school, I wouldn't have been able to do what I'm doing now. So I think it's kind of one of those, it blends it all together.
But you felt a sense of calling, a sense of purpose in direction when you thought, okay, media, this is...
Oh, absolutely. Coming here was 100% was like the Lord being like, this is where I want you to go into. Don't look into it too much because you're going to get in your own way. And I know that you're an overthinker, so just follow what I've called you to do. But as I've been walking through it, it has just been so, like I'm walking into my calling. Like the things that the Lord has called me into, I'm stepping into each day.
Very nice. And here's where our own stories come also in, you know, into the spectrum of the storytelling, right? Because we come in and we bring in our own stories into the scene. I think I share the same thing. It's not what I do, rather than what I do it for. So medicine was a means to a cause, and media is still a means to a cause, you know, and not a cause in itself. So it's not the ends in itself. We want to reach people with the message of God's love and God's care, and medicine is a means and media is a means. So
I do want to be a little bit careful to say that media is just a means to an end. If you treat media as a purpose, you deflate the value of the artistry, and then you're putting the value on yourself to create the end. Well, it's not up to us to save the world. We are participants in creation, in imagination, that is allowing for that other people to have cathartic experience through story that's going to bring them to God. So I got concerned with thinking, okay, I'm coming into this and I'm going to come and save the world with this. And you put so much weight on yourself, you can't do it because we're Old Testament characters. We're so caught up in ourselves, we're going to make terrible mistakes. Yes, media does become a means, but our job is to do one of four things in media. We're coming to entertain, we're coming to educate, we're coming to edify, and we're coming to evangelize. So we're telling people about the good news. We are being poetic in our work and showing the beauty of creation. We are communicating information. We're teaching. We're helping people understand ideas. But media is a source of entertainment. Stories are fun. We're attracted to it because we're entertained by it. So when we think of media, we want to think of it in a number of ways. And it's an art. It's a fun thing to do. Fortunately, now there's such a demand for it. It's actually a very viable vocation, and you make a great living as a media artist.
Yeah. So no, but I love that media is entertaining. Like media's purposes are to entertain, to educate, to edify, and to evangelize. And I think this goes with every media, not just Christian media.
Right.
It's what message do they evangelize? That's another story, but that's definitely the case. So now that you touched on that, we know that there were different eras of media, right? So your dad, Brian Stiller, worked in those different levels, probably using the traditional media. What they say traditional, they have different nomenclature, TV, broadcast, newspaper, everything, and have used it very effectively, to accomplish these goals. And now he's using the podcast, and it's going great, by the way. And this is another generation of media, right? And we are all hearing the buzzwords of AI and so forth. So that's things. So tell us about the different generations or eras of media, and what are they? And then, of course, the buzzword AI, and where does it come in? And Denise, I know that you'll have an essay on that as well.
The broadcast media, that a generation the previous century, the big change was when we moved into the digital. The internet and inexpensive video cameras that shot extremely high quality. Well, now your phone shoots fantastic. I've shot things on my phone that went up into movie theaters along with my big expensive cameras.
Wow.
You couldn't tell which one was my phone and which one was my expensive camera.
Wow.
So there's between distribution on the internet and digital cameras that became extremely inexpensive, suddenly media is fully democratized. It's not just for people with a lot of money and big studios. Now, if you have a phone, you can make a film, and everybody's is doing it. So I think that was probably one of the biggest
Shift,
turns.
yeah.
One of the biggest shifts. And now with AI, it's a different shift, and I think we're in the middle of an interesting transition, because some people see AI as just this means that it'll do all the work for you.
Correct.
So it's a lazy response saying, oh, I'll just get AI to do it, and it's going to put out poor quality. How many emails do you get a day when you look at it and you go, that's just AI generated?
Oh, and CVs, trust me.
Oh, yeah.
Resumes, like, come on. Are you applying, or is it your AI applying?
It's true. It's so true. But that's not to dismiss AI,
course.
because artificial intelligence, it's been around for a long time, a lot longer than we give it initial credit for.
Yeah.
The value of AI is going to be the way that we interact with it, that the way it becomes an extension of ourselves. So the new word is AI slop. You've all seen those images that are clearly AI generated, the text is AI. It's just stuff and junk. But how do you take AI in your creative work and incorporate it so it becomes a partner? It's not something that's doing your work for you. How can we take and communicate with it and make use of its vast
And definitely not
resource?
doing the thinking for you, because that's
Absolutely
concerning
not.
me.
No. It's an inspiration. It's a way of being.
Don't tell him about the essay writing.
Well, the fun thing about my courses, I don't know essays. It's all creative work.
Yeah. But it's good to be able to bounce your ideas off of. So you still have your own thoughts. It's still your own creativity, but it helps you hone it in with
Because it's the
saving time.
collective intelligence of so many other people, right? It's the cumulative wisdom of the generations.
We are all so interconnected.
Correct.
We should be sharing ideas. We're not hogging anything. Teaching is the sharing of ideas.
Correct.
And if we can't share our ideas, at some point there's going to be that limitation of the ceiling is going to collapse in on us. How can we continue to enable other people to be creative?
That's super helpful. And so, are we to be utilizing AI in every aspect of media? Are we so kind of, I want a phrase or a definition of our relationship with AI in media, if you can just phrase it. And I know that you were discussing a program, and I'm coming to that in a second. That we probably need to change some of our courses to accommodate the responsible use of AI, but it would be a changer, right? A big world changer, I guess, or
It's
a game changer, right?
It's a massive task. It is huge. We're going to have to move. We're trying to move a mountain, but to deny that the mountain's in the way, that's not helpful either. So I do think we have to find ways to change the way we learn. Well, the way we learn is going to completely change. It's not if, it's when.
Yeah, true.
So I would encourage people to think of ethical ways that you're going to incorporate it, and know that you're not going to have all the answers. And we're not going to have all the answers in this decade. I'm curious in 10 years how much more AI. What's happened in the past 6 months is awesome. So
they say the worst performance of the AI is now. It's only getting better.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. So when you ask, well, where do we draw the line? It's a moving target. I think we know when we see terrible AI that's lazy and it's clickbait, right? But where is that line between where we're using it effectively, responsibly, and when it's clickbait? Because there's a gray area in between there, and that's just going to take wisdom.
And that's a learning curve as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
that's great. Okay, so I want to take this time to encourage all those in media to consider something very exciting that is being birthed or probably has already come to existence. A new MA that Murray will tell us shortly about it, that has started or is starting.
Starts in January.
January, here at Tyndale, a very exciting initiative. So, Murray, the new MA in Media Studies, and why is it so unique? And what is the difference between the BA and the MA? And he is kind of extending your program to an MA as well, so you know that.
Yes.
Right.
We were talking off screen before the show how COVID changed everything.
Correct.
And we thought in media that you can't teach media online. You have to be in person. And then COVID hit, and we had no choice. But we made it work. And we made it work really well. And we realized, actually, we can do this. We just have to think differently about the way we...
So the products of your students were as good as...
Better.
Oh, wow.
Just excellent. Outstanding work.
Without being in the labs or...
Without being in the labs, but they had their tripod, they had their camera, they had their computer, and they had their little apartments, and they made fantastic films. So... not to say that we should, go back to COVID. No. That's what we want. But we did realize that there's a lot more online potential. So universities have been asking, is there a way we can build some media programs? Because there's a demand, there's a need for students, there's a need for creative people. So in talking to Tyndale University about their undergraduate degree, the vice president of the academics turned to me and said, what about a master's degree? I said, that's an excellent idea. Let's pursue that. Let's start with the bachelor's degree, and we'll get that launched, get a couple of years under our belt, and then ask for the master's degree. So what makes it unique is that it's online, so it can be from anywhere in the world, and we meet weekly in the classes. To go over the work that we're doing, to go over the readings, the things that we're watching. The other thing that makes it really unique, and it kind of hit me in a moment as we were developing it, media, as we talked about, it's the culmination of a lot of different arts. You're not going to have a media person who comes in and knows a lot about all the different forms of media. Yeah. So we've opened it so that you come into the media program with whatever your craft is. You can be a performer or a writer or a filmmaker or an editor or a podcast host, or you're involved in ministry in your church that incorporates media. Or maybe you're a business person, you're an entrepreneur, and you have a great idea that you want to develop. So the courses are around creativity and imagination and storytelling, and you bring your craft into all of those assignments. that then is leading to a thesis project where you're going to create a significant piece of work.
Wow.
And you're mentored through that process with some really outstanding professors who have a lot of desire to see the success in the students.
Wow, that's awesome. And that's all being done online.
It's all being done online, but we'll have opportunities for in-person
cohorts or something.
Yeah, just opportunities where we can all get together for a weekend. And of course, we want to incorporate the bachelor students to participate and learn from graduate students as well.
Awesome. So Denise and Murray, as we're wrapping up our episode, now so many have been hesitant to step into the media world and definitely into studying about media, because that would demand time, money, resources, effort, and they don't know would that lead to a proper job, career, and if it did, probably it's not the worthwhile career that they want that could serve their life calling and ministry because of all the entanglement of media. So I want to hear both your opinions, and you're both involved in the media and in an academic sense and a practical sense, but also in ministry and in using media for the sake of the gospel. So I think your take will be insightful, but also very encouraging to all of us working in the media industry in different shapes and forms and different levels, and also different components in the media play, right, in the spectrum, so that we know really if we have this talent, how to prune it, how to improve it so that we put it into use for God's glory. We'll start with you, Denise.
Yeah, I think media is actually incorporated in everyone's lives. I think in the day that we're in now, my grandparents use computers. My grandparents use their iPad, they watch things, right? So it doesn't matter what age you are. I think is part of our lives now. So what better way than to learn and to grow stuff and our knowledge of how to use these tools? Because no matter what we're doing, whether we're Skyping, whether we're making a website, whether we're having to create videos or just relate with somebody else and talk with somebody else, there's always a level of knowledge that we can learn and grow and develop and prune, right? To be able to use it in the kingdom, whether we're talking to our friends, whether we're talking to somebody on the street. As I encourage other students, you can't go wrong learning in this, because no matter what you go through, no matter what stage of life you're in, no matter what job you're doing, media is going to be a part of it. Whether you're able to talk to somebody else who's it's their job and give some tips or be like, oh, I learned this, or whether it opens a career path for you, right? Like, I didn't initially think that media was going to be where I was going to end up. And yet it has, in my life, always been a part of it. And now it's what I'm focusing on.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Denise.
What a great answer. That the idea, there's whatever you learn, it has so many different applications. And parents always come with me asking the same question. Kids have a million questions. Your parents probably have the same question. Is my kid ever going to actually earn a living? Are we going to get him out of the house? And as Denise pointed out, there's so many different avenues now where you're taking your skills in media and you can apply it in so many different areas that it's encouraging. So I think
and from a kingdom perspective, I think so much of what we're doing in media could be way more improved so that we can serve people better and proclaim the gospel to them.
That's the important word, serve. It's a great opportunity to serve.
I love that. Yeah. So, beloved, I think this was a very wealthy episode. It's not just media storytelling. but when beyond that, honestly, is like everybody has a story, and media is an amazing platform, medium, for storytelling, for bringing the different aspects of stories, the redemptive stories, so that people can find themselves in the story and can be led to God in that. And Jesus was the master storyteller. The Bible is 70% story, and the cathartic moment that we talked about, the way people are reflecting on the story and in the story, and how media is used in that would encourage us to consider doing it better. It has so many aspects. Nobody has it all, but we definitely need to improve our skills, sharpen our talents, so that we serve the people better. And what an opportunity that God has given us to reach the world with media, you know. Jesus served thousands by teaching them stories, and now God is giving us an amazing platform. Media, when used rightly, is to entertain, to educate, to edify, and to evangelize. And I am encouraging everyone to consider pruning their skills, sharpening their talents, and learning better. Like Denise said, you can't go wrong with learning, and improve all of this for God's glory, to serve His people, to proclaim the gospel, and to honor Christ. Thank you so much for watching us. Thank you, Murray. Thank you, Denise. ربنا يبارككم. نشوفكم في حلقة جاية من برنامجكم خطوات قدام.